I'm surviving 100 days in Better Minecraft, a mod that adds so many new structures, biomes, and bosses to the game that you won't even recognize it. I have 3 goals for this video. Unlock the dragon-plated armor set. Yeah, you know I look good right now. Find and kill 3 brand new bosses. I swear that plan is giving me the side eye. And finally, collect 1,000,000 ducks. No, I'm not kidding. For some reason, I just make ducks a priority in this video, but they're so cute. Anyway, enough talk. Time to conquer Better Minecraft, and it all starts on day 1. Alright, this world is not like the rest, clearly because there is a blue tree staring me in the face. I find it so much more interesting to chop down rainbow eucalyptus than some boring old oak. If only it made sick rainbow tools though. Nevertheless, I made quick work of the stone below and crafted up our first set of real tools. Starting our adventure, we have to find a place to stay. In a jungle nearby, I spotted a structure. It was kind of like a mini castle. Inside a chest, I got some feathers, amethyst, a bundle, and a mending looting 3 book. I started this world 2 minutes. What kind of crazy find is that? However, since it was all I could find in the jungle, I moved on for more. In a nearby plains biome, I got to chopping. You thought it was gonna be trees. Vegans, feel free to watch, cause chicken nuggets are worth it. Trust me, I've tried them. Now that I've gotten some food for my journey, I was back at it. I truly need a beautiful area to settle in, and this just was not it. Before night fell, I wanted to bunker down in a house. Lucky me, there happened to be one in what looked like a giant wheat biome. I got a free bed and a furnace for cheap. On my way out, cause I'm not gonna live there, I saw this small dirt hut, something everyone's made playing this game at one point or another. Inside, it felt as boring as ever, but underneath happened to be a dungeon. I was met with a villager and its zombie companion. However, I have no interest in being a doctor. A free golden apple and weakness potion won't hurt though. Outside, I found the game's rendition of Stonehenge, and I used my 200 IQ to find a chest in the middle. Inside was a little bit of iron. After such a small find, I ventured on, hiking atop a mountain, boating the ocean, and finding buffalo. All until I ran into a ghost church. The barrels had some insignificant items, while out back, there was an entire pile of iron blocks. Unsmelted, of course, for a lack of convenience, but still, loot is loot. And to end out my night, I saw tents on the horizon. Surely, it is not a pillager camp. I've had enough bad memories of that. But instead, it was these nerds. They had iron, emeralds, and free food for me to take as I stayed the night. Back on the hunt, I'm stuck by an ocean. Thus, once again, I'm off to see what lays on the other side. Land ho! I saw some interesting buildings, but I'm still more or less stuck on where I should settle. Just like you're probably stuck on what browser you should be using. Yup, today we're checking out Opera GX, a browser specifically meant for gamers. I actually use this browser myself and have now for years. It makes it so my tabs never interfere with my FPS. With GX Control, I can limit my internet usage, RAM, and CPU, which allows for my game to run smooth at all times. Speaking of smooth, Opera GX has already incorporated AI into the browser. I went ahead and asked ChatGPT how to beat the Ender Dragon, and let's just say it makes it sound easy. Opera GX is completely customizable. With mods and add-ons, I made my browser look like this. And yeah, this is much cooler than the actual game. But you can get many other mods, allowing wallpaper changes, browser sounds like closing and opening a tab, as well as this tactical keystrokes mod that I'm using to type right now. They've got all kinds of themes that you can mix and match, and if you want even more stuff for your browser, check out the add-ons page. Chris DeCow got his own background here, marking one of his best ever builds. Really cool. So download Opera GX for yourself and let me know what kind of cool themes you all make. And while you do, I'll get back to scoping out the cool area for my new base. I ran across this river with a beautiful red tree line. This is the first place that made me think of settling. Just in case this isn't actually an ideal location, I ran around a bit. That's where I found an upgraded pillager outpost. I'm way too greedy for my own good, and I want it in. But even after making iron armor, this wouldn't be a good idea. So against my internal judgment, I left it alone and went back to the river. That's where I set down a small camp to begin the next day. This place is looking good for a base, but I'm starving, or at least going to. I haven't wiped out the pollution of wildlife around me yet, bringing peace, justice, freedom, and security to my new empire. Sorry, that slipped out. Just like my sword slipped through all of these animals on accident, would you believe it? Like I said, vegans don't shy away, there's plenty to see. After everything was nice and ran through, I got to cooking it all up. Should be enough for a few days, and I decided on the perfect place for my base, across the pond next to this hill. These trees had to go to make a spot for my eventual castle? Tower? I really don't know what I'm gonna build this time, but it's always massive and way too big of a project to take on. Day 5, I'm out on an adventure. With a settlement claimed, I'm looking for cool blocks to use for the build, EXP from interesting mobs, and hopefully some epic loot that I can use later down the line. Some of these bosses that I fight in the future are way more challenging than I thought, so I'll need it. Along the river, I saw a sick looking area with a temple. Surely this won't be bad, right? I built up checking for some loot just to find a skeleton with so much health. He got me down to 2 hearts in a split second. I ran away like a little schoolgirl, fearing for my life. But the king once said, never back down, and I'm not giving up. In the tower, I stole some iron and figured the best strat was to break in from the roof. I found 3 diamonds, more iron and gold, as well as some extra food. Inside, I slowly built my way in to get more iron and, more importantly, a map. This map, of course, leads to something, but I struggle with my left and rights in real life, so boating away in hopes I can find it is a struggle. On the river, I saw some haunted looking mansion. Seems as though it's ruled by witches. The inside was covered in cobwebs, and each witch was getting a sharp white bat to the face. Inside, the chests seemed to have emeralds and books, while I found a spawner. Guess I know where all of the webs are coming from. Plus, these bookshelves were a great find. This can fund my full enchant setup later. Up top, I found a vein mining book for my pick, as well as enough gold to upgrade our backpack. The more it holds, the longer the adventure. Yet, this night was still empty-handed on the map front. Couldn't figure out how to go to whatever this is, so I'm 1 for 2 on structures. With my map knowledge, I thought to cross this pond. Maybe I can get a read on it on the way. Cool enough, the map live updates in F5 while on a boat. No, seriously, zoom it. Look at this. It's live updating while I explore more. You know what else live updates? My sub count, and it doesn't have you in it. So if you're one of the at least 7 people not subscribed, go do me a favor and hit that button down below. Join the before 1 mil gang. Thanks so much for listening to my little rant, and let's get back to whatever the heck this giant boat is. I almost didn't look up in time for the massive ship of pillagers afoot. My little greedy mind snaked my way through this boat to get 2 free diamonds in the face of this vindicator. Bozo. The firing squad above didn't look too friendly, so I tunneled again to steal even more loot from the booty of this pirate. Y'all are gonna have to build a better boat to pull one over on me. After staring this map in the face long enough, it started to fill in. That's right, I did directions. I conquered them. At a 3rd grade level, I finally made it. Mom, I can see why you're proud of me. However, the base I thought would be full of loot happened to look like another skeleton tower, ready to fold me like an omelet. The quivering in my boots didn't stop while making my way inside, until I saw an iron golem. This is a makeshift village that I can use whenever I want, if crossing the Atlantic for a few Squidwards would ever be worth it. However, for the majority of the next day, that is what I was stuck doing. Turns out traveling this far because you got a map and you can't read it, just gets you a good view of the ocean for the next 10 minutes. Once I got back home, I organized all of our stuff by flat out dumping it and putting down a waste stone for whenever I need to TP back here. I also upgraded to the next level of backpack, the emerald and diamond variant, so I can hold a lot more on the go. Now, just before we get to building this house, there is one thing I have to do. Go get more diamonds. If I am stuck building this thing with iron tools, I will end up jumping off of it. I looked around my place of residence to see if there were any caves that piqued my interest. Lucky me, I saw a deep cavern just next door. Being the reckless I am, I just jumped, hoping I saw what I did, just to land in cobwebs, all part of the plan. Inside the mine shaft was pretty cool, a lot bigger than normal, but not too rewarding. Deeper in the cave, I was getting basic ores like lapis and gold, all until I got close to the bottom, finding diamonds. Hopefully the first of many. Moving on, I also found this silver ore a lot. Now, I'm not too sure what it is yet, but I'm hoping it's useful. Eventually, I made my way back to the mine shaft since it's probably leading somewhere. That's when I stumbled upon a chest with a literal bomb inside of it. Who thought it would be smart to give me an explosive? The mine shaft continued to lead to a massive cave, but I was jump scared. No one told me a little goblin would try and trade with me. I boated down and sure enough, his little apple remains there on the ground. Whoops. Okay, back to the mining stuff. I carried on getting all the ores that I could see, making sure not to miss any direction in the cave. That's when I made it to a mob grinder, with its own lovely amount of ores inside, as well as a golden apple in the chest. Eventually, I made it to this sick underwater area where finding diamonds was a piece of cake. They stuck out like a sore thumb, so I tried not to drown with some doors. All in all, the trip went crazy, getting over a stack of emeralds, 61 diamonds, a stack of gold, stack of iron, and of course, the best part, 79 silver, although I don't know what to do with this. And it turns out while I was in the mines, I got this little marble upgrade for my iron tools. So to end out my day, I upgraded them to a standing better than iron, but a little bit weaker than diamond. Plus, they look sick. Day 11. Now, I don't want to start this by saying I was out mining again or anything, but I kind of had to. Turns out those deeper caves didn't have coal, so I had to find a couple surface pockets to make sure that things were smelting. While doing so, I discovered how to make silver bombs. Of course, I tested it on a nearby area, but I didn't expect the bounce. Lucky me though, it does explode. Who wants to bet that I can kill a boss with these? I also learned how to make a book of XP. It can hold up to 30 levels inside, so if I make an Enderman farm at some point, we're good to grind out constant levels. And those books I found earlier did come in handy as I made a level 30 table. Day 12, I wanted to start planning out the build. However, you can't plan without a surplus of blocks. That's where cobblestone comes in. It's located at all of your local holes in the ground. Perfect for not being recognized as a versatile block and fairly easy to mine. Once I had enough, I went across the lake to start planning out phase 1 of the base, a small tower out front to act as the entrance. And since we have a decent amount of cobblestone, I also framed how big the second massive tower would be behind it. That's how I plan to live, in a giant luxury tower. Day 13 is construction time. Turns out I wanted to use cobblestone as the base, so whatever I had left I used to build up the wall of this first square foundation. Then, shocker, I ran out, so it was back to the mine to grab up more. I love repeating the same process over and over again. Unlucky me, night fell too soon, so I was only able to get the foundation done as well as a quick grid of where the wood will be going on top. This eventual work of art is going to take a lot of wood, something I wasn't prepared for, so I grabbed some bones and many maple saplings to take them over to the plains. I spam placed trees all around, then went back to get some bone meal and mine them. They gave me a fair bit of logs, but this is nothing compared to lovely spruce trees. With those materials, I was back in action at the base. Out front, I needed a staircase so I can get up. Then I worked on some walls, framed out with logs while filling in the middle with planks. However, when making the top of the first layer, I noticed how bland everything was. So instead, I took out the planks from the build and staggered columns of stripped and unstripped logs to create a more tree-like and sturdy base. Back to the top, I moved in the next layer by one and built up the support logs, filled it in with planks. I don't want this to go too high, so I'll be making the roof next. The main attraction of this is going to be the tower we make behind this one. The roof was fairly simple, just a stone brick outline with the maple wood in the middle. And no, I didn't mess up one side of it. You're just colorblind. It looked pretty good, but everything needed some decoration, so I added walls to the rim between the floors, a fence post coming down from the roof, as well as windows and lanterns overhanging the outside of the second layer. The next day, I made more lanterns and headed back up to the top for more decor. The sides still needed design, so I used fence gates and a trap door so it wasn't looking too bland. I also added a cobblestone and stone brick trim around the foundation to connect it all to the build a bit better. Now, in the inside, I have a very tall but very small house. That's how I would describe this. But since this is all I'm gonna have for now, it's worth it to make it work. The staircase out front wasn't facing the right way either, so I had to add in a 90-degree turn to it. And to end out the night, I was trying to come up with where I'd be putting a ladder so I could maximize my space for the second floor. In the end, it kinda worked, but I realized 2 floors may not be enough. Day 17, I started off by wanting spruce wood. At the time, it was just for aesthetic around the base, and it's all around the top dog of wood. However, it's also a big part of leveling up my gear so I can take on all the bosses I plan to. The Night Licht or Void Blossom don't go down easy. Unfortunately, I couldn't find spruce anywhere in the near area, and settled on, yes, I know, birchwood. Sure, I was able to use it in the build, but it's nowhere close to what I needed gear-wise. Although, I'll give credit where credit is due. It looks pretty good as barrels on the ceiling. I then moved stuff over from out of our settlement to inside of the base. The second floor was a perfect size for the enchant table, but the first floor plan was a bit tight. I had a lot more furnaces and items than I thought, and I could really just use with another floor. This wall of chests and bed in the corner is cozy, but that's about it. The next couple of days, I felt like going for a walk. You know, stretch the good old legs, swing the good old sword, probably fall to critically low HP, the norm. Along my journey, I trekked high and low until on top of a snowy mountain, I stumbled onto a menacing tower. The closer I got, the bigger it became. At the time, I had no idea what this was. However, inside, I found like a dungeon of skeletons beneath me. They were all kinda kitted too. Taking them on wasn't easy. In a chest, I found a neurotoxins book. No idea what that goes on, but I continued up the tower tower instead. The next level, I saw nothing, but that nothing saw me. These were more important than I knew. Unfortunately, this place didn't have much, so I'll just have to leave. The Nightlixt Tower. That's what this is. Hint, hint, wink, wink. I'll be back. On the ground, I found a frozen pillager raiding party. They were still an easy kill, but Bad Omen wasn't my favorite effect to get. However, the weird horn I received was pretty cool. More into the journey, I found another village to steal from. The waystones will come in handy when I'm trying to come home quickly, and this hay can go towards breeding villagers later on. But on the hunt, I climbed mountain after mountain just to spot a graveyard. This place was a village of past, something only a king from a fallen kingdom could know about. With nothing much here, I was off till I saw some stone sticking out of the ground. At first, I thought this was going to be an underground village, but I quickly realized this is a catacombs. This maze is home to zombies and skeletons which spawn quite often. The loot inside is nothing to speak of, just being mostly gold, iron, rotten flesh, and the occasional golden apple or diamond tool. I traversed the tunnels for some time, looking every which way I could for loot. In the end, I wound up with extra diamond tools, bombs, and a soul star, which I didn't know what it did. Back on my hunt, I spotted a pirate ship off land. Of course I'm dumb enough to go for it. I parked my perfectly sized boat next to it and mined in. The first room was filled with vindicators who were not happy I'm stealing from them. After that, I let a creeper go kablooey and stole from the captain's quarters. A couple diamonds and some iron armor is nothing to laugh at. However, remember me talking about critically low HP? That might have happened, as I cowabunged off the ship with 100 arrows being shot into my backside. Scary things aside, I took sail once more to find the other end of the sea. I landed near a village which I finally slept in for the night. Don't want any sky rats to spawn. Days 21 and 22, I left the village to find a mushroom town. The homes seemed nice, but the residents, not so much. Hey, they looked first, right? This killing is justified. The loot here was basically just food, but since I had been killing the local animal life the entire time, no way I can complain. At the top of their main tower, I was able to plunder 13 iron, 14 emeralds, 3 diamonds, and a feather falling book. That's enough cow for me though, except when I thought it was fun to kill them for food along the way. In a jungle biome, I happened upon a much bigger temple than anywhere else. The top led straight to a spawner, which I broke, and inside it looked like a maze. This place was meant to trick me, but I am too good for that. I just stole everything I could find that was meant to kill me and made profit. I got 2 diamonds from a chest, and I thought it best to just mine through the build, stopping it from working, leading me to a room with more ores and the loot from a buried sea chest. I also found another thing in the jungle, a castle. Like a massive one. Now, I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure this is the overworld equivalent of a nether fortress. The chests on this thing were awesome as well. Out on random branches of the structure, I was just finding diamonds, okay? Diamonds. I continued to make my way through, not sure where the other shoe would drop. At some point, this place had to be bad, scary, or just plain out deadly. The main tower showed signs of that with a wither skeleton guard, but inside was just more loot. The middle had ores upon ores, and the rooms had iron out the wazoo. The place made me bank, even if I wasn't intending for that to happen. The jungle was great for profit and wasn't done showing me some crazy items, such as this temple. Inside were a bunch of rooms that didn't really have anything, but it did have weird puzzles. The first one had a bow and arrow, a target block, and a pressure plate. When stepped on, it would light up a row of lamps, but I couldn't figure out what the bow was meant for. It wasn't activating anything. The next puzzle had some books with really weird symbols in them. I wasn't too sure what I meant to do with this one, so I moved to the last task. A bunch of item frames with buttons. Of course, one of the buttons summoned a million skeletons to my position. Who would do this to a person? I blocked off the spawner with light and got back to work, because apparently that solved the puzzle. At puzzle 2, I tried clicking on stuff, setting them to different pages, and somehow I got it correct. Lastly was this redstone lamp thing, and I just couldn't figure it out. So even though I had mining fatigue, I spent time mining through the wall to look at the redstone. Maybe I would be able to figure it out just by looking. I still have no idea what is going on in this room. So instead, I shot an arrow at the plate, keeping it pressed down, and then spamming arrows at the target until the campfire lit up. This opened a lower section that was really just a maze disguised with more loot. One of the sections had some barrels, one looking like a falling trap, and the other parkour. I think I was making good progress when I got to a wall parkour section, and I was obviously able to one-shot every jump and get to the next area. Again, were a ton of barrels and chests with random items inside, which I didn't really need right now. But I came to another parkour and clearly one-shot it again. Oh, Cut that one out. Easily one-shotted again. Anyway, the next level was a timed parkour. Somehow it's just getting easier, and I'm still yet to find the treasure room, which happened to be right around the corner. A bunch of zombies and the pharaoh rushed me. Once he was dead, the mining fatigue wore off, and I was a free man. The chest had good stuff, like a god apple, diamonds, and enchanted books. But just under the throne was another chest with a crazy gold sword that no one would ever use. Time to make my way out of here. I found an emerald room, which wasn't easy to pass on, so I looted it, and then I found my way back to the parkour bit. Instead, I just mined out of the entire structure and ran around. I'm not doing that again. With mining fatigue gone, it was so much easier to navigate. I went back down and grabbed some of the gold I couldn't before, and found a hidden section resembling the normal desert temples. The loot was okay, it had some extra ores, but nothing too special. Back on the journey abroad, I was wandering through magical forests to find an end city, but not a normal end city, an overworld one. I went inside to find out that this, again, is another village full of annoying Squidwards. The chests had good amount of food in them, which was nice, but nothing of note. That was until I reached the top of one of the towers and it had fireworks, which is cool because I can use them when I get an elytra. Even further up, I found a double wide chest with a few diamonds inside to make this all worthwhile. But nothing else kept me out here, so I returned home with all my goodies. Now that I'm back at base, I can work on it a little. The adventure warranted many rewards, too many to hold in my current storage, so I expanded. Below the base, I hollowed out a room, switched the walls to match the stone and cobblestone I've used throughout, and made the floor out of gray wood to match the dungeon vibe. I then put 9 more double chests in a wall for some more space. After that, I put my bed in a corner because I can never figure out how to decorate this thing, so instead, I just plop it somewhere because I don't care. Then I put furnaces in the corner and said the room was done. The rest of my time we spent organizing all of my items into their proper spots. Still felt like I was missing out on room, but I made this small house so I have to live with it. Day 28, I'm looking to upgrade my tools. I have decent levels, but I'm still rocking the upgraded iron, and it's time for diamond. On the axe, I got efficiency 4, unbreaking 3, and the pick was just unbreaking. I quickly rerolled that to just get efficiency 4. Not wanted, so I made a new pick and enchanted that to get unbreaking 3, fortune 2. Combining those up, I got one heck of a pickaxe, and that's much better than the original unbreaking. Now, the reason I wanted better tools was because I needed cobblestone to expand the base. Again, it's in need of more space, and mining out an entire cave of cobble is how it's done. Using that cobble was day 29's task. I was back at the foundation mapping out multiple areas for the massive tower. I also built up the middle section with an overwhelming amount of cobblestone left over for once. Then I reharvested my plane of trees. I'll be needing much more than this, but it's a start. Alongside that, I stole a duck. No, yeah, I just took him from his natural home, and he's gonna be mine now. I put him inside my base and looked through all of the trapdoor options. We're caging him up. Lucky me, the palm trapdoor looked best, so a few yards away, I harvested the tree and put him inside a cage. Look at that little guy in there. The next couple of days, I realized I haven't been to the nether yet. I don't even remember the last time I've seen lava, so I used the map feature to find some. I ventured over and spent a comically long time collecting a singular block. At base, I made our portal and went inside. The spawn seemed to be in a small cave with green soul sand all over. The movement here is terrible, but there was a way out. I mined down to see a whole world that I can't get to, except in this mod, building down is technically possible. I don't even know what mod allows me to place under this block, but I'm all for it. It allowed me to build down safely and start exploring. I don't have a plan while taking my quick trip to hell. All I know is that this place does not look normal. The first build I saw was this crimson house. A bunch of piglins were inside guarding some loot, but the smart player I am, I just mined through the walls to get my earnings. Inside the first chest I received 2 ancient debris. Then I ran around the house to find my second, which just had meat inside. Finally, I found my last netherite scrap before leaving this place. I am not taking them on. Further down the road, I walked till I found a nether fortress. Locating the spawner was easy, so I covered it up with all the blocks I had, making the farming a lot easier. I stayed here for quite some time, killing off blazes to rarely get a rod. 5 was enough to make me bored, thus I left. The trek home was long and dangerous. However, I throw my life around like this like it's nothing, so the risk of falling into lava is kind of fun. Thankfully, it's very easy to spawn my portal as it is the only giant spiral netherrack tower. Ignore the skin I'm wearing today. I may have been playing in an event trying to annoy some people with these skin changes, and let's just say it worked. Today was about expanding the base. We have the cobblestone platform and nothing on top. I put in the supports in the corners and then in the middle for somewhat of a design. Afterward, I made the lower level out of stripped maple log, finally placing regular planks to fill out the square, and by the end of the day, I thought all I would have is this giant square. So I made a quick trim around the top so it wouldn't look too bad. Continuing this build is gonna cost me. I'm already out of wood and it's not like it grows in spades around here. Oh wait, it does. With just a little bone meal, I harvested a ton more wood. I even figured out a way to mine an entire line of it at once, maximizing my time and yours. I used all that wood to finish up the trim on the top floor, and then from a distance, I looked back on it. It's alright, but I really don't know what to do from here. I don't know what kind of wood or block type would be best for the second floor, or how high I'm gonna take it. Should I stick with the current block palette? All of this is an unknown when building a tower like this. So instead, I probably logged off that day and said future me can handle it. Shocker, it's future me here, and to remedy that choice, I will be traveling the world for a few days. I'm gonna go and find the best wood for the job on this trip no matter what. I started off in the same direction as I've traveled before, testing out woods along the way, both regular logs and strip versions. Pretty quickly, I stumbled onto this orange wood that might work but seemed a little too dark. Down the river, I found this greenish gold wood that would just look amazing, but it just can't fit in my build. I would have given everything to have used this instead of the Japanese maple, but I'm not going to turn my back on it now. This trip was an expedition to collect all different types of wood, and after the greenish gold, I refound the Sika log in a pumpkin patch and thought to take a few stacks so I don't lose this wood in case I want it later on. In a snow biome, I stumbled onto a blue wood. Like, come on, I really needed to look for better options before building. Some of this stuff is sick looking. Next to the snow, I saw a very deep cave, and since I have no sense of time, I figured why not attempt for diamonds. However, this isn't a normal cave. Sure, I found a few good ores, but nothing compared to the deep dark I was spotting below the surface. Inside, I found it odd that the entire thing wasn't covered in skulk. In fact, the area I walked into happened to have a chest with 3 god apples inside. Now I'm at a total of 5 just after opening this first chest. I honestly didn't know if it was worth risking my life to go further in, cause I think I just found the treasure trove of chests. However, I continued to find diamond leggings with prot 3. The next area had a shrieker, but I was able to break it and loot another chest with random items, yet nothing of value. But I saw some urns that could have loot. Nothing from the first one, but the second had him. A stalker spawned. Not only was I terrified, but I was not fit for this thing. Instead of fighting, I just ran. Because in case you didn't know, he's massive and scary. Just in case, I popped one of the god apples to escape, and looking at that thing now, how am I meant to kill it? I'm done caving. I'm just gonna go to the top. I continued throughout the snow biome to find the best wood, or honestly just find my way back home. I saw a sign, ignore that I'm on fire, that pointed to a village not far away. I also spotted a snow giraffe on the adventure that I may or may not have gotten killed. I'll put you out of your misery, friend. The village that I found didn't lead to much, except for on the map I saw a new structure. A white castle-like building, but again, I don't think I'm ready for this fight. And just along the horizon, I spotted another thing. A giant ice temple. What is happening? There are just so many buildings here. I placed a waystone as a way to come back. Surely, on one of these structures there has to be a boss, and I'm not ready for it yet, but I'll be back. With an unfathomable amount of wood to use, I grabbed up a few and tested them against the first layer. Chica is just not it. Ebony is extremely dark, but I think it can work. Since I lack the ability to not be blind, I used it. I basically did the same thing as before. Pillared up to another layer, but after looking at it, I genuinely can't tell how this will make a tower. Yet here I am the next day continuing to build up this second layer as if I'm actually going to like it. However, I did end up running out of ebony wood. Lucky me, I did grab the sapling. But how do I place these things down to grow the tree? Are they like dark oak trees or even bigger? The 2x2 format was not working when I tried bone meal, so I went with a 3x3. And shockingly, it grew. Harvesting these is a crazy task though, and even with the one-hit axe, the tree is just too big for that. Even so, I spent the entire day getting up my stockpile of ebony wood. Day 39, I'm back to work building up the second tower. This thing is just not looking good in the footage, and even while recording, I knew this was not it. But I stuck to it. I even made a sick looking trim around the entire thing, just like I had done the last time. But finally, it didn't sit right with me. I demolished it throughout the night, getting rid of all of my progress on this massive house. This is why you plan out your stuff before you get it into the video. Would have saved me a lot of time and effort. To fix this problem, I'm just going to use our original wood and try again. This time, I'm shortening the width of the tower here and going simple. Just the 4 corner pillars with a half-baked design in the middle. Looking back at it, I can work with this. Finally, something is moving along with this base. Day 41, more trim work is afoot. At the top of our new story, I thought it cool to have 2 balconies on the left and the right side. Instead of doing the normal ring around the entire square, I only did it on 2 sides, bringing it out for that porch look. Moving on, I built up the middle room a bit more and worked on the entrance to said deck. But I paused production to go and smelt some stone because I'm going to be needing it for the roof. Back up top, I sectioned off the middle room and couldn't come up with a design, so instead I did decor under the deck. It looks really plain right now and very cut off, so with a couple of logs and stairs facing the right direction, all of it fit in with the tower. Back up top, I used stone brick to make a protruding roof outline. After it was done, I went ahead and stood back to look at it. Oh my word, that is way too big. When night came, I reworked the idea many a times. I just couldn't get a small slanted roof that also protruded. That was until I mapped out the flat roof and then started 2 blocks lower than normal. From there, I was able to make a protruding roof look a lot better, getting the exact map of the design from the flat one on the other side. After completing the entire roof, I looked back just to see it's not right by 1 block. That block being a slab that made the entire thing look a lot better. Finishing out the night, I copied that design over to the other. And day 43, I added in the stripped wood on top as well as this whatever you call wall in between the stone brick outline. The tower's looking a lot better, and to prove it, I parkoured around some trees just to look back at it. Much better than the ebony design. Day 44, interior work. Finally. I can't believe that it's taken me this long, but we are here. Since I've been working on this for legit ever, it feels like, it's time to speed up the process. First off, I mined out the grass that was under the cobblestone foundation that meets up with the floor of our starter house. Then I made the floor completely out of ebony. I was just genuinely mad that I didn't get to use it earlier. So now it is a massive part of this interior, and you can decide if it's a good or a bad thing. Don't say it's a bad thing, because I like it. Now, to focus more on it, I made a staircase up to the 2nd floor. Then I used the wood to post up beams in the later to be known as storage space. I also may have had to stand here and wait for stone to smelt so I can make our all-in-one crafting station. A place every base needs that has a stone cutter, crafting tables, furnaces, blast furnaces, smoker, grindstone, and barrels. Lastly came the massive amount of chests that no one could possibly use. After being at the base for so long, it was time for some amount of adventure. This Vindicator base has just been sitting next to us for how long, and it's time I take it on. Getting in was easy, shockingly not well guarded. In fact, inside were some golems, a clay-like golem and an iron golem. They handled the rest while I took out the sniper nest campers. Imagine not having the balls to come down and fight me like a man. Okay, that's harsh, but in reality, this place didn't have much of anything anyone could ever want. So instead, I'm still staying away from the base, but just hunting food. I'm low-key starving out here, and pissing off vegans is a pastime of mine. At home, I was cooking up food when I noticed I'm low on coal. Something I normally don't have to do is go and get more when I'm almost 50 days into a video. Something I also normally have an abundance of is villagers by this time, but I don't yet, so I took a waystone to the nearest village I knew of. I wanted to test if it was possible to get in a boat with a villager and then TP home with him, but that test did not work. So instead of that, we're doing it the boat way. Thankfully, one long river almost connects my base with the village. I was able to boat that length, mine out only a couple of mounds, and get good old Frank here home. Frank needs a place to live, so I made a fletching table and lured him into my base, yet he somehow latched onto a barrel. Him trying to rebel like this didn't work, cause a simple boat lured him into his prison for life. Welcome home, Frank. I hope you hate it. Back at the village, I had to make sure I grabbed Frank's wife. She's a beauty, and to honor that, shockingly, her name's Frank too. Isn't that right, you stain on life itself? Day 49, breeding time. The villagers need beds and food. So guys, here you go, take it all and get to work, cause I need willing workers to get maxed out armor. Anyway, walking around the base, I noticed that I planned out mini towers all about. Those never happen, and as such, I'm going to rework the foundation. First, I added 2 more layers of cobble to it. Then I went around the perimeter adding in walls and slabs to give it texture. The longer this sits here, the more this cobble will turn mossy thanks to the mods I have installed, so I don't even have to come back and texture it later. Gotta love a fantasy world. Halfway into the video, I swear I'm only doing final touches on the base. I sheared up some leaves from the forest, you know, hurting local wildlife, then used that to decorate the rim of what I used to call box 1. Now it's looking a lot more like my house. I also did the same on the makeshift balcony above, along with adding in lanterns so people can see up here. At the top of the tower, I made sure the leaves looked like vines overgrowing all the way up here, and finally at the end of the day, I think I hatched a duck. I'll let y'all name this one in the comments, but now I have another duck. Day 51, I'm trying to mark off some chores on my list because in the background, I was watching Major 1 of RLCS. That's like the championship of Rocket League, and it was fire. While listening, I completed the glass windows on the roof and finished off the railing that I didn't have enough stone for from the last bit. After that, I pretty much wandered while staring at my other monitor, but that led to me coming up with my next project, a farm. However, much of the day was spent being oblivious, so I had only the daylight for terraforming. I chopped trees, stole some dirt, and shaped the land up so that I'd have something to work with in the coming days. One wood I haven't been able to use is ebony. I wanted it on the outside, but it's just too dark. But not for the farm. I grabbed some resources and headed outside, hoed the land down, and got the shape I wanted. What's left is to encase it with fences and fence gates. That's because I don't know one small fact. While building, I connected a couple fences and it worked better than I could have imagined. We got diagonal fences. I love this, and it looks great. After it was all fenced in, I planted down rows of carrots and potatoes. Did you know that if you plant down crops with different ones around it, it'll help them grow? Now you do. To end out my day, I traded with the villagers. We are slowly getting more and more of them. Traveling back and forth to the basement is finally getting to be enough, so I made a bunch of item frames for the chests and got to work. I had 9 double chests that took me way too long to sort, making a sapling chest, 3 different wood chests, and of course, all of my valued items. Later down the line, those valued item counts will be more than quadruple, like septuple. I don't know any words that are higher than that because 7 is like all I can count to. But for future me, that's a lot of ores. Now that I have ducks in the base, it's reminding me that I have barely survived this food situation. So I want to grab some meaty animals to breed. I went about the map with some leads, looking for the best mob to take back with me. I don't want some ordinary chickens or pigs, but good mobs, like, well, ducks or cows. Instead of finding something though, I spotted that pillager place again and went back inside. That's where I found all the stuff I could need for beds. I was wondering how to get more wool, and then there was a solution, so I took apart their tents. Back at base, I crafted up a ton more beds and gave the villagers bread to fill out all the slots. I totally forgot about the meat thing, huh? Day 55 started with me moving the nether portal inside. I put it upstairs because I can't think of any way to decorate this area right now, so I'm just stuffing stuff in here. Then I wanted to do some more trading with Frank's family tree, but I had no sticks. Thankfully, I have those massive ebony trees over yonder and was able to get an inventory or 2 full of sticks. But realistically, I am in grave need of spruce. Those trees just work the best for this job, so I'm off to go find some. Biome after biome away until I stumbled upon these gigantic trees. I made wood hoes thinking it would be a little easier to break the leaves, but that just did not work very well. Yet, I still grabbed up enough saplings to make my own farm back at base. Speaking of farm, when I was back, I made just that with my epic 14 saplings. I used what little amount of bone meal I had to grow and chop a tree. So much wood for basically nothing. Love me some spruce. But if I really want profit, I need much more bone meal. That's what the nether is for. I went in and scouted about. Turns out there is a lot of bone meal right next to my base. This entire biome is full of it, so I took apart a bunch of these fossils to use for the trees. And I didn't like these plants that were in here. They just kept hurting me. That's like a toxic plant over there. I left the nether with about 5 stacks of bone blocks. Surely that's gotta be enough for the next 50 days. Just turned out the next day, I extended out the second floor of our base for a mini bedroom. I also got rid of the nether portal because I finally found a use for up here. Villager stalls. I let out a few of the Franks and watched them all rush upstairs to find new jobs. They fit perfectly in each slot, which was awesome because that meant I can start re-rolling trades. I have 4 of them up here and I'm looking for prot, unbreaking, mending, and feather falling. With that type of armor, the upcoming boss fights I plan on taking should be pretty easy. However, it wasn't as easy as I thought. It took like 10 minutes just for one of them to not only take a job, but also give me what I wanted, feather falling. The other ones were taking so long that I decided to separate them out for convenience. I put one in a corner and literally boxed him in so that I could get to trading. After sitting in this uncomfortable position with him for what felt like hours, he gave me mending. That worked, except it made me do the exact same to the other 2 villagers. Give a book, please. The first one gave me Unbreaking 3, and he took up my entire day, so that's cool. The next guy I was rolling for Prot took half of the day, but I accepted Prot 3 just knowing I can combine it up to P4. That's when I bought every single book for combining. I'll make 4 epic books to put on a fresh set of diamond armor. Except the hardest part about combining these books together is my lack of experience. In fact, I was out of levels almost right away, so I grabbed bone meal and headed to the spruce patch. These trees will be my chance at maxed out armor. Day 60 was just that, trading with Frank's 2nd to 8th cousin at this point for for emeralds and XP, combining up the books that I could afford and then growing and ruining the wildlife of spruce trees to repeat the process. I would say that's what I did the next day as well, but instead I made more Fletchers for the trades, but realized how annoying it is to come in here, trade, and pray I click on the right guy. So for this day, I let them out. Well, not really. First, I made a new area outside the stone brick wall. It was like a long tunnel for them to hide in. It seemed to work really well as I opened it up and they all flocked to the new location. Yet they still knew that bedtime was more important than living in little Jimmy's 0-kilometer apartment. Fine, I'll make the living situation even worse. I confined them with trapdoors so we wouldn't have wanderers looking about. I want each and every one of them to feel the misery they caused me on a basis. Then I traded with them to get more XP for the armor I just have sitting in my backpack. Someone explained to me how I can carry that around. Anyway, I used that to make the Prop 4 Unbreaking 3 Mending books, and I still have enough levels to put that on a single piece of armor, the chestplate. Thus, I was back getting more levels, but that's when I noticed that some of the villagers won't take their rightful jobs. It seems as though some of them are taking the positions from the ones next to them, and I don't know how to fix that. The next couple of days, I was thinking about those frozen boss-like buildings I ran into. Since we have some decent gear now, well, one piece at least, surely I'll be able to take it on. I used the waystone to warp to the largest of them, a massive ice temple. I went inside to see what was up, and at first it was like a maze, which led to a room full of lapis and skeletons. They sure were tearing up my armor. Thankfully, one of my pieces had mending. At one point, I was really close to freezing to death, and a campfire was my only saving grace. I also fell through the least obvious trap ever and kind of just flopped down 2 stories. The loot in this place may as well have been non-existent. Other than the lapis blocks and millions of arrows lodged in my spine, nothing was rewarding. Even the roof was empty. Who made this place? Cause it certainly wasn't a king. Back at the frozen village, I thought it best to bunker for the night, but no one had beds and the locals were not exactly welcoming. Yes, I said it. I used an igloo as cover while murking the populace. However, there is still a castle left to take on. I mined in the side to find a couple more aggravated caretakers. Hey, y'all think you could stop with the arrows? I'm looking to spare my armor here. With those taken care of, I checked out what the heck could be inside here. My guidebook walked me through some possibilities, but no boss bar was showing up, so I didn't know whether I had to spawn it or if there was no boss. That's when I went up the tower and met Yamagata. This bad boy took no damage and froze me for fun. I was about to die to the cold before him, so I dipped the heck out of there. I thought it best to grab an army of heat. Thanks to a local lava pool, I was mad chilling in the burn department. That's when I made my way back over to Master Yama and thought I'd pick a fight. He was still in his corner and I used lava to heat it up a bit. After critting him out with ease, I got a staff and a massive freezer burn. Lava was great to swim in though, helps get rid of that frostbite. However, I now have this cool staff that says it freezes targets and one last castle to check out. I built up to this massive pillager tower and used the staff to freeze a guard. Made it a little easier to kill stuff as I got like speed 3 or 4 upon breaking the ice. A lot started running at me when I got here, and since I still don't have much loot for these days, I persevered. Inside a large building, I saw an evoker and just had to have it. Freezing him and going in for the kill, I was bomb rushed before I could even get the totem and was left at 1 heart. I quickly ran away, but a Vex caught up to me and popped my charm of life. Jumping down into a mass of people was probably not the best call either. I had to eat my last enchanted golden apple, but even eating that was not enough, and I had to retreat up a staircase. However, in all of that fun, I remembered seeing the totem drop, so I quickly ran back, grabbed it, and almost lost my life to another pillager. Thankfully, I escaped and was able to return home. The most profit I made was the freezing staff, so to make my day seem more rewarding, I traded with the villagers for emeralds and levels to combine up more armor. Day 65. A child escaped my prison. I don't even know how, but it made it all the way out and almost upstairs. I burned it to death. No villager out of the pen. I then took some bone meal out to our spruce farm and had a grand old time chopping trees. I used that to trade up for more levels, and I'm looking for about 25 so I can make the boots. When I got there, I also had a bunch more emerald blocks to add to our collection, but that does make a full set of Prop 4 diamond armor. Took me 60 days, but it's finally time to take on a real boss. That Yama person was cool, but he didn't pose any threat with a bucket of lava in hand. My first attempt will be the Night Lich. I started off the next day at the spruce farm. Yeah, Yeah, I know, but that was used to mend up my armor that had suffered at the hands of all of those arrows. After that, I went to the nether and grinded zombie pigmen. It was fairly easy as they all react to just one hit. I'm hitting them on purpose though. I'm trying to grind soul stars, and they can only come from undead mobs. It's still a super low chance, but a low chance doesn't mean no chance. I also had another goal while chilling in hell: quartz. I was mining quartz and gold for levels because it's a lot easier to get up to level 30 with these than it is with refreshing villagers. I did that so when I got back to base, I could enchant the frost wand. The first attempt was pure unbreaking, which sucked. But the next time I got unbreaking, icebreaker, and innervation. I literally don't know what any of those do, but it looks a lot better. Day 68, I re-rolled one of our only villagers left in the breeder because I'm testing if I can put sharpness on this wand. It makes little to no sense, but may as well try. I rolled up a sharp 3 villager, good enough for me, so I bought 4 of them and traded for more XP to combine them into sharp 4 books. 1 for the axe and 1 for the sword. Shocker, it wasn't working on the staff. That's when I noticed my food supply was not doing too hot, so I actually harvested the farm for once. I know, how crazy, isn't it? But another thing I can do is kill ducks in the area. They provide food and cuteness, so I took our caged ones, figured out it's bred to breed them, and combined them in a green gold wooden prison. After long enough, I'll have hundreds of these and I can harvest. Day funny number, I was back at the large pillager outpost castle, but I wasn't having any of the fun from last time. Instead, I went through and let iron golems out of their cages. That way, I got an army walking around with me. This actually worked out pretty great, as I would search chests around the facility and the iron golems would track to enemies. After having a few of them built up, I would run back to the golem to help out and he would whack them out of existence. The chests were all pretty lackluster, just having XP bottles, iron, and food inside. I mean, I guess getting emeralds from the pillagers does count as loot too. After letting all of the iron golems and clay golems free, I was pretty much done with this place. Hopefully it turns into a village and flourishes. Yet I am still on a mission to gather soul stars from the undead and look around the snow biomes for the Night Lich Tower. However, the map grew lacking on that front. Even if I seemed to search the entire world, I wasn't seeing much. I did find a frozen pyramid, but this Egypt can wait. Since that front isn't exactly working out right now, I think it's time we go for netherite. I headed down the long staircase, found myself a place to mine down at, and pretty quickly found one ancient debris. Luck is clearly on my side for this one, meaning it won't take that long. Well, until I started mining, and kept mining, and continue mining with 0 debris in sight. It took me like 20 minutes just to find another vein, making my total up to 3 Deborah. Since it continued like that for a little while, I'll just make this easier. Boom, netherite, boom, netherite, oh yeah, and boom, more netherite. After having enough, I got the heck out of hell with 29 fresh Deborahs. I put that in the blast furnaces and made 7 ingots, 8 if you include the debris I had gotten along the way. That was enough to get a full set of netherite armor with 3 tools. I'll save an ingot for now. So I also may have been writing my own voiceover script for this video while recording it and noticed that early on I actually passed the Night Lich Tower. Not that I even knew what it was or still don't know what it is. The Night Lich to me is like a mage I have to avoid spells from. However, when I got to the tower, I still don't have enough of the soul stars to summon it. Thus, I was in a cave for a while, grabbing up all the zombie kills I could. With 4 gathered, I went back up, picked up some extra blocks for the fight, and popped in all 4 stars to summon the Lich. I didn't really know where he was, so I built up and saw him flying outside. That's very much no good. I don't currently have a bow and cannot reach this punk for the life of me, but it did seem like he didn't do much damage. He was able to spawn some phantoms and show me that he can teleport, which is really annoying, but I can't help that. So I devised a plan to go get a bow from home and TP back. But when mid-teleport, he finally hit me with an attack that popped my totem. I was full health! Okay, so he's nothing to bat an eye at. I quickly grabbed a bow, enchanted it with power 4 and flame, and then got back to work on this Lich. I really wish the fight was not just me running in between pillars trying to find him, and then when I did find him, shoot him maybe once or twice because my aim sucks and he TP away. But that was the fight. Legit, I was dip diving and dodging his attacks while running around the tower to find him, then I would land a couple of hits and repeat. After clearing a 1/4 of his health, he just spammed abilities, phantoms, explosions. I was at like 4 hearts in 1 hit. This man was toxic as all get out. But in between his health marks, it was all the same fight, running running in and out of the tower to spot him, then miss all my shots, and it worked pretty well. And I attribute the entire fight to the flame tick. His health would not have gone down as much as it did without it. But finally, after what felt like years, I completed my quest in killing the Lich. He dropped some interesting items like enchanted books and his boss drop. I was able to see some crafts when I made it back to base, and apparently I can make a charged pearl. You know, one I can use forever. That's pretty sick, but I also need the Void Thorn for that, and that's a pretty scary boss. But I want a piece of it, specifically the thorn part. To find this though, I need Lily of the Valley. If I combine that and amethyst shards, it should point me in the right direction. Thankfully, those flowers spawned right next to my base, and I scooped up a few to craft with amethyst. Placing the Void Lily tracker down, the pollen actually points to where this boss is hiding. Sure enough, it worked, and I followed its trail. Now, it didn't feel like it was actually pointing in the right direction sometimes, as it seemed to be pointing downward pretty fast. But that's because we're just there. Yes, I based pretty close to this thing. In my mining trips, I could have eventually stumbled on it. That could have been a massacre. One of the most deadly bosses in the game versus iron armor. Once I mined down and found it, I returned home. I needed a bow to face this thing. No way am I getting up in that guy's face. So I grabbed an old power 4 and made it a power 5 flame unbreaking. I also hoped that my ice staff would slow the thing down. Back at the boss, it had 4 phases and like 6 different moves. It would track me down and shoot thorns up from the ground, but it also had a wave attack that would thorn up the entire room. A whole lot of food was being consumed in this fight, but so were arrows. This thing didn't play around, and after wave 1, it spawned healing bushes. I began to break all of those with a hoe and got back to the arrow fire. Here, it revealed a poison-like green move, meant to slow me down. I full force attacked it at this point, conquering stage 2. It healed yet again, making my job a bit harder, and even started to protect its bushes. Then it decided to gain a petal move that would shoot thorn petals at me, doing massive damage. But I still opted for running in blind. Seems to be the best way to hurt me and it. Halfway through the fight, I realized this isn't working and placed down a waystone home. Yeah, okay, I get it. Leaving during a boss fight is not good looks, but I was out of gaps and forgot how strong this thing was. 32 crafted gaps later, I was back showing no fear, whacking the absolute heck out this man. Back to the healing stage, every single one of them was now guarded, but I said no and just built above. Now, if you've noticed my armor this entire time, it's getting very low. Apparently, thorns is, this thing's specialty, and that destroys armor. Yet, that's something I didn't pay attention to the point I was whacking it on the 4th phase, only wearing a chest plate, yet somehow I killed it. Enough raw gold running through my system clearly piqued my endurance for that fight. The XP healed my, well, chest plate at this point, which was cool, but also sad because now I can be booked for public indecency. That aside, I had to get to work on a new set of armor, which would require more books from villagers and levels from the trees. Spruce baby, we're back in business as I made an oopsie whoopsie with my clothing. Day 79, I was able to make my helmet and leggings with villager trades, but I still didn't have enough for the shoes. Jordans wouldn't look good on me anyway. Day 80, we got our full set back and we're ready for action, other than the gear still being diamond. I stole from my savings a bit to make the legs netherite, but we're now out. However, we did just beat a boss, which meant we have some things to claim and craft. One is the charged pearl. This guy will do just as it says, charge up and never leave your side. More loyal than most people. I also claimed my rewards for beating the bosses and got the Earth Diver staff that just lets me go through walls. It was really cool to use, but probably would have been nice earlier in the game. Not really now. Oh, and I got the Staff of Suppression just chilling in the house now, so nothing should spawn around the base. Now, the next couple of days were a bit of a long adventure, so keep up. Foremost on my mind is that I'm out of netherite gear. I need more of that, but mining is boring, so I figure I'll go lose some bastions and be back on my feet. Well, the journey ended up being a bit longer than I expected. I did find a treasure bastion, which is cool, and brutes are not. The upstairs chests are mediocre like always, and the lava rim trial of courage chest sitting at the bottom were not too terrible. I did end up getting one piece of netherite from it. Now, in this bastion, there was something a bit off about it. It seemed like the middle of it had been impaled by another structure. It just looked off to me. Upon further checking up top, I found this, what looked like to be a castle tower. I mined in only to see my demise. With quick thinking, I mined into a wall to kill all of the pigmen after me. At one point, it was a pretty close call, but we prevail. This structure is a lot, and I mean a metric ton a lot bigger than I expected. First and foremost, I know that there is loot loot on the top of each of those pillars, like where we came in from. So I'd first farm some brutes for XP, then mine up to get my reward, whether it was a chest with some epic loot, gold blocks, or literally nothing but an ambush. Now, I wouldn't normally loot this place the way that I've seen it in the past and leave, but I got curious. So curious, in fact, I mined down instead. This led to a whole new world of possibilities and trouble. The first time I did it is only because the grate below me had a spawner. I instantly went to check it out, finding blocks of gold, but again left after looting. Turns out this was in every corner or intersection of the build, granting a lot of gold blocks, but it seemed again that I would just go back up. It took till like my 5th attempt going down, even finding a god apple, to realize that down may not be down enough. Don't get me wrong, I was only suspecting at this point, but I wanted to clear out some more brutes from tackling me in these holes, so I mass murdered once again. But going down one more time led me to conclude there is even more loot. Yes, in total, every pillar goes down about 5 different times. That meant loot, 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 and loot. So much loot, it was clogging everything I owned. Don't get me wrong, enough gold blocks to make a beacon is great, and another for a small army of, well, armor is amazing. But there were times I got careless, not looking before I leapt, which could have led to many deaths via brutes. When all was said and done, I had looted over 40 different rooms and cleared a ton of loot. Over 4 stacks of gold blocks, well over 10 netherite ingots after smelting, 50 plus diamonds, and a backpack full of extra diamond armor. I'll never have to make any of that again. But we aren't done quite yet. What's a quick trip to hell with the boys without exploring a mysterious structure in the fog? This nether brick temple looked interesting, so I pulled over to check it out. The citadel had something crazy inside. A mini boss. I don't remember its name, but it's clear the thing is strong, constantly tanking fire over here, but I decided it best to take this on a little later, instead returning home to organize all of our goodies. Now the next 2 days were even more interesting. I took some of that gold we had, I have a bit to spare now, and went to the nether with it to throw at a piglin. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I was kidding. This is not interesting. I just needed pearls. Oh, look. There's some now. Yeah, you guessed it, dragon time. I made the eyes, still had my bow on me, we've got the sick pearl, fireworks and building blocks acquired, so we should be good to go throw our first eye. That took me on an adventure over the ocean, a trek through a jungle, and down to the better stronghold. That's where the search for the portal room began. It's clear I'm lost and don't know where this thing is, so by the end of the day I was just barely lucky enough to find the portal room, in which I forgot to put down a waystone and instead lit it up just to jump in and start the dragon fight. I spawned a small distance away, you know, the void. I panicked and opened my options, which let the world load in a little bit more so I didn't lose everything. Sigh of relief. I built over and pearled to match the dragon. I began by blowing up all her crystals on my first attempt. After they were all dead, not gonna lie, my aim train locked on her and I did massive damage with the power 5. On her first perch, she didn't like me hitting her and left pretty quickly while kicking me out a lot. However, I drilled her with arrows the entire way to the second perch, which just made killing her even easier when I got the sword out. With the dragon beat, that means a couple of things. For one, XP. I stored a bunch of it up for later with my books and claimed my first dragon scale. Yes, I can make some pretty sick armor with this later. Oh, and I guess the dragon egg's cool too. After the death of the dragon, it's time for an elytra, but as I forgot in a world like this, the end looks a little different. A world full of amazing biomes sure did not disappoint. Yet we're here for one thing and one thing only. Something that will let us fly way too close to the sun. So biome after biome, charged pearl throw after charged pearl throw, horde of warthogs with like a 6th sense and speed 10 chasing after me, I found no ship. After an hour of pure disappointment, I was fairly tired and just warped home to log out for the day. Day 90, I didn't hit record at the start, but like, as you can see, the egg has a pedestal and I'm wearing gilded netherite now, so like piglins will respect me, I guess. I also claimed a few challenges. Then I made even more XP books because my XP is through the roof at this point, and since I have extra netherite, I upgraded them to the second version of the book for more XP storage. Day 91, I was feeling a bit better and went back to the end. Thankfully, an end city and blimp were pretty close in sight. It was a really small city and the shulkers did not drop anything good. However, that recharged pearl came in handy when getting to the blimp. Inside, I found a few shulkers and their spawners, so I took care of that, grabbed an ender chest, and looted to find a void totem, which is cool, but I'm unsure if I really want it in my offhand or not. And of course, the best item in the game, a fully enchanted elytra. That fits in my cape slot, so I can wear my backpack my cape of an elytra, and my chest plate. After that, all I did was fly around the end looking for the gateway home. When I arrived, I think I just missed, but an ender whale spawned, which was a challenge, so I killed it, then dipped home. I got a few shulker boxes from the trip, which I probably won't be using at any point, and some XP from that whale quest, but easily the coolest part of the day was when it turned winter outside. It finally happened so many days later, but we got winter and it looks sick out here. Okay, so the next couple of days, I want to fight the Wither. The Wither drops a nether star, and that'll help me upgrade my backpack. However, the nether is a bit of a mess of a place where I kind of just explore everything. While flying, I found a wither skull in a lava lake, but vindicators just spawned to stop me. I don't know why y'all are here, but that is one head for ya boy. Next up, I searched a piglin outpost hoping to find one here because I'm pretty sure I've seen them before, but this one just didn't spawn with any. Then I landed in a soul sand biome, noticing some interesting looking wither skeleton types. I figured why not take this version on from afar. I bowed what looked to be the Grim Frickin' Reaper, but in fact was just a soul reaper. No head from that guy, but I'm pretty positive they can drop. I farmed all wither skeleton types, getting one more from a scaly-like skeleton until I saw a giant black structure. I mined inside just to see it full of skellies. Perfect. First and foremost, I was more concerned about loot. Like always, the first chest I found did not seem that great, but that's just because the floor I was on didn't have ancient debris sitting in the wall. But I'm still hunting for that last skull, and I wasn't getting any more. That's until I made it up to the very top of the tower, risking my life, and everything and their mother followed me. I killed them all, and my reward was my last wither skeleton skull. However, that didn't take nearly as long as I thought, so why not explore a little bit more? The first thing I made it to was that Blaze Citadel. I don't know how powerful this thing is, but I'm not taking any chances. From one of the top stories, I mined in and bowed her down. It barely had an idea of what was going on before it died, and I was able to grab the loot and dip. I got wildfire crown fragments to make the wildfire crown. I'm low-key excited for that. It looks pretty cool. Pressing on, I may have found another one of those nether heavy brute castle thingies or whatever it's called. Instead of running you through all the loot I get, since I know you already know what's gonna happen in here, I'll just show you this clip of me being an idiot. Yeah, okay, I may have made a mistake with that one, but they ended up getting all of their loot stolen, so it's more of a loss for them, okay? At base, I sorted the extra 4 netherite, a stack of gold, 25 diamonds, and much more loot. Most importantly, we have the skulls for the Wither, extra gas tiers for the dragon, and a wildfire king helmet. This thing looks sick, but it was not as protective as I would have wanted. I then used the rest of my time to gather sand for end crystals because I plan to fight the dragon for her scales. Along with that, I need another set of netherite prepared to turn into the dragon armor, so I bought more books, used up some stored XP, and combined them all. Put it on armor, made it netherite, and then added the one scale we had to a chest plate, which looked alright, but we definitely need the full set to make it epic. Starting off my last set of days, we're first traveling back to the stronghold. Once there, I completely forgot where that portal was, so I threw another eye inside to get the general direction. This time, I'm not making the same mistake, and I'm leaving a waystone here to mark the end. Back on the island, I put down my crystals, resummoning the dragon. An elytra made killing the crystals a cinch, and with a power 5, she was taking a ton of damage. Someday, I should really learn to make strength potions before I come here, just make my job a lot easier. Without even perching, I was able to kill this dragon. She dropped 3 scales, but it looked as like some of them went into the portal. I don't know if these actually TP to like my bed or the spawn chunk of the world, but it was sad to see them go. However, that's why I have enough for more dragons. When the portal disappeared, I found the 3 more scales, an easy 6 if I don't say so myself. The next dragon was even easier than the last, one-shotting every single crystal, and then on her perch, she really tried to kill me and yeet me away, but I was not having that and getting another 5 scales from this one too. The third, last, and final dragon still posed no threat, dying on the portal again, so I risked it all by jumping after the scales, getting 16 in total. Not a bad haul whatsoever. I combined it up and made all of my armor look amazing, including my elytra. I put the gilded armor to rest with the king's helmet and dragon egg, sort of like a solidified treasure wall, before turning my tools and bow into the coolest set of armor I've ever frickin' seen. But I'm not done yet. With the new set, I went back to the end and spawned in the scariest boss in the game. The Wither. Dun, dun, duh. It's dead. It's already dead. I think a semi-angry fly could do more damage, but hey, at least we have another star. I was able to use that to upgrade my current backpack for the first time in what seemed like 80 plus days. Then I used a dragon head to get it to the maxed version, the endless backpack, with so much room in it, I don't even know what to do. I also claimed some more quests and got a brimstone nectar. It apparently will reset any boss structure on use, which is cool if you're trying to farm a specific boss for relatively cheap items. But there was one more thing I wanted to beat. 3 dragons and a wither was not enough to end a video, but a giant golem is. That's right, I gathered up all of the resources, built the structure in the nether, and placed in all of the blackstone shards you get from the brutes to spawn it in. This is the blackstone golem. At the start, he was kind of immortal for no reason. Then he got a little bit mad at me. The end bow was doing a ton of damage, but so was he. Thankfully, I had regen potions at the ready and my last enchanted golden apple for the fight. When I finally chopped away at his health to get him to half, he turned blue and got a lot faster. The bow shredded this version of him, taking him down in seconds flat, unlocking more quests and spawning in his children, which I had to reluctantly kill. The quest gave me so much good stuff, like another golden apple, gilded ingots, and much more. At base, I looked through it all. The best thing was this blackstone heart that can be used to make the blackstone golem's arm, or just replace your own heart. I chose to give myself open heart surgery, granting 2 permanent hearts. To end out the series, I quickly made a new netherite set of armor and made it fully gilded, but with this version, you can actually get some fire res and it shines bright orange. I really would have liked this earlier in the video. Honestly, all of the armor sets would have been great earlier on, but it's still cool to have all of it now. And that was it. Everything I set out to do, all of the bosses I had faced, the maxed armor I had crafted, it was all over. I survived. No, I freaking thrived. If you enjoyed this 100 days, make sure to hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel. 30,000 likes and I'll take on fantasy again, but I'll bring on a seasonal guest. So comment winter if you want to see that happen. Again, make sure to go check out Opera GX down below in the description. I'm actively using Opera GX right now as my permanent browser and have for years, so try it out yourself. Thanks for all of the support. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.